Blood always flows downward on Earth, pulled by one steady force. Menstrual blood follows that exact rule, or so everyone assumes. The station orbits 400 kilometers up, where that force disappears entirely. Astronauts drift in continuous freefall, and so does every fluid in their bodies. That single fact launched one of spaceflight's most persistent rumors. The rumor claims menstrual blood has nowhere left to go up there. It supposedly reverses course, flooding backward through the fallopian tubes. Framed that way, an ordinary process sounds like a hidden medical crisis. The answer is almost anticlimactic. Bodies work fine. The real threat is a toilet. Rewind to the late 1970s inside NASA's astronaut selection offices. The agency is actively building its first class to include women. Flight surgeons reviewing every application are almost entirely male. Engineers signing off on all hardware are almost entirely male too. None of them hold even a single reliable data point on menstruation in orbit. Decades of spaceflight before this specific point involved exclusively male crews only. Committees debate hygiene and containment issues with absolutely zero orbital precedent to guide them. Medical textbooks from that era barely mention female reproductive physiology at all. No data existed. Nobody had flown a woman yet.
Sally Ride is training hard for a 6-day shuttle mission. By 1983, ground engineers propose sending roughly 100 tampons for the flight. Ride reportedly questions whether that specific number makes any sense at all. A 6-day shuttle mission simply does not require anywhere near that volume of supplies. Nobody in that room could point to even a single prior orbital case. Basic arithmetic alone exposed the absurdity of the offer. A 6-day supply that size would have filled an entire storage locker. Excess came from ignorance, not from physiology. The uterus was never the problem. Rhea Sudden was another physician training in that same class. She argued the offer revealed less about medicine and more about pure guesswork. Engineers had simply multiplied normal supply estimates by an arbitrary safety margin. No clinical trial or orbital case study informed that multiplier at all. That single number quietly became a symbol of how little anyone actually knew. It also became a lesson later classes would not repeat. Guesswork dressed as caution, nothing more. A muscle runs the menstrual cycle on its own schedule. The uterus is lined with smooth tissue arranged in overlapping bands. During menstruation specifically, that same muscle contracts in coordinated rhythmic waves. Each individual contraction loosens the uterine lining away from the wall behind it. Blood vessels woven inside that lining constrict and release in a tight sequence. This coordinated squeezing builds internal pressure directly behind the loosened tissue. Rising internal pressure then pushes that loosened tissue steadily through the cervix. Gravity holds no seat at this table, on Earth or anywhere else. The pump needs no help. It never did.
A woman lying flat sheds her lining at the same pace as one standing upright. A woman inverted in a headstand experiences that identical, entirely unchanged process. Orbit simply swaps the compass for the pump, and the pump keeps working regardless. The exact same muscle contracts the same way, whether upright or entirely weightless. Astronauts have menstruated aboard spacecraft since the early 1980s. Doctors on the ground have carefully documented every one of those cases. The pelvis kept its job. Nothing changed. Orbit never touched it. Fluid inside an astronaut's body genuinely does shift, just somewhere else entirely. Freed from gravity's pull toward the legs, blood redistributes upward toward the head. Faces swell visibly within just a few days, a condition crews nickname Moonface. Legs grow noticeably thinner as fluid steadily drains upward and away from them. NASA researchers scanned the internal jugular veins of 11 long-duration crew members in 2019. Several of those crew members showed blood flow that slowed nearly to a stop. In a few documented cases, blood briefly reversed direction inside that vein. Blood pressure sensors aboard the ISS now flag this exact shift within days of arrival. Wrong organ. Reversed flow is real. It happened in the neck. Doctors now track this jugular finding closely across every long mission. Blood clots pose a genuine medical risk whenever flow pools and stalls that way.
One crew member in 2019 actually developed a partial clot mid-flight. Compression garments and daily exercise routines push that fluid back toward the legs artificially. These countermeasures target circulation specifically, and circulation alone caused the anomaly. Menstruation itself played absolutely no measurable part in triggering any of it. Two additional crew members also showed milder versions of that same slowed flow. The fix targets a vein, not a cycle. Most female astronauts choose to skip periods entirely during long missions. Continuous hormonal contraception suppresses menstruation entirely for months or years at a stretch. Pills, patches, and implants all serve this exact purpose. Convenience drives that choice, and simple logistics explain it fully. A station cabin simply holds tightly limited space for any hygiene products at all. Fewer supplies launched from Earth translate directly into less mass and lighter cargo. Simplifying just one variable frees crew attention for dozens of other daily tasks. Long-duration missions bound for Mars would stretch this same convenience into years, not months. One chapter closes, a new system opens next. Nobody thinks about it. Space agencies now publish detailed medical guidance on menstrual management for long flights. Astronauts who choose to continue a natural cycle receive standard supplies without any restriction. Those who choose depression receive prescriptions tailored closely to mission length and personal health history. Neither option carries any measurable extra risk unique to spaceflight itself. Flight surgeons simply treat the decision as routine, ordinary medical planning. The entire debate that once consumed 1970s engineers has quietly become a footnote. Crew medical files now include this specific choice as a standard checklist item. A solved problem decades ago. That system is the toilet bolted into the station wall. Waste management aboard the station operates with no gravity to lean on. Both urine and solid waste simply stay suspended instead of funneling toward a bowl. Engineers replaced that missing force with directed airflow and precise suction. The entire mechanism narrows down to one small, curved metal seat. Handles and footholds surround that seat entirely to keep the whole body perfectly still. Airflow near that seat forms an invisible channel only centimeters wide. Engineers reinforced every single seal on this seat after several early prototype failures. Everything narrows to one point, a body held centered. Early spaceflight toilets struggled with exactly this problem for years. Apollo-era astronauts relied entirely on adhesive bags pressed directly against the body. Shuttle-era engineers eventually introduced airflow-based suction to replace that clumsy earlier method. Even then, early prototypes leaked odor and stray waste during initial test flights. Each failure fed directly into redesigns of seals and airflow strength. The station's current system represents literal decades of exactly this kind of correction. Every version failed first, then it improved. The Universal Waste Management System pulls waste through moving air alone. A small funnel positioned close to the body captures urine immediately on contact. That same funnel feeds directly into the station's larger water recovery system. That recovered water eventually returns to the crew again as clean drinking water. A separate vacuum-sealed seat handles solid waste through that exact same principle. Solid waste then seals into odor-proof bags stored inside dedicated containment canisters. Crews swap out these canisters on a strict, carefully managed rotating schedule. That same recovered water also rehydrates food pouches and other drinking supplies. One variable decides everything. That variable is alignment. Shrink the entire station down to the width of one narrow seat. A shop vacuum demonstrates the same principle back on Earth. Hold its hose steady and centered an inch from a spill. Suction then clears the entire mess instantly, provided the hose stays held firm. Let your aim drift even slightly off-center, and the vacuum grabs only air. The spill simply scatters wider across the floor instead of quietly disappearing. Even a 1-degree tilt of the body is often enough to break the seal. Cleanup happens by hand. Nothing catches it. No margin exists up there. An Earth toilet forgives sloppy aim because gravity finishes the job anyway. Miss the bowl slightly on Earth and falling water still carries waste downward. The station's suction system carries no such backup, no silent correction underneath.
Airflow only ever clears a narrow, precisely defined path near its intake. A poor seal around that narrow seat breaks the entire mechanism almost instantly. A body positioned a few centimeters off produces the same failure. Waste simply drifts loose into the cabin air, floating toward nearby equipment and walls. Ground controllers can watch live airflow sensor data in near real time. One failure, total mess. No gravity to save it. Crews train for this positioning for weeks before they ever fly. Every single angle gets carefully rehearsed on ground-based mock-ups first. Every seal gets checked and rechecked under close supervision. Instructors run crews through the same exact drill dozens of times before launch. Muscle memory eventually replaces visual confirmation once aboard the station. The vacuum engages just once per attempt, leaving no second chance mid-use at all. New astronaut candidates now spend an entire dedicated training day on this seat alone. Precision is the real test, not menstruation. Astronauts describe the toilet as the strangest skill to relearn in orbit. Simple tasks on Earth demand entirely new muscle coordination in orbit. Positioning the body correctly requires bracing against handles with practiced precision. Some crew members compare it to docking a small spacecraft by feel alone. The comparison is not entirely a joke, given how much precision it demands. Both tasks punish the smallest deviation from a fixed, narrow target. Trainers say the learning curve surprises nearly every new astronaut. Small target, zero forgiveness. This is the actual engineering challenge hiding behind a mundane question. Menstruation, the process everyone assumed would malfunction in orbit, ran on muscle the whole time. Pressure inside the uterus did all the necessary work, exactly as on Earth. The system never needed gravity's help down here either. The feared catastrophe was a physiological impossibility wrapped in headline anxiety. Later research into this vain anomaly even reshaped some standard flight physicals. Reversed flow really happened. In the neck. The pelvis stayed uninvolved. The bathroom tells the opposite story entirely. It stands as the most unremarkable fixture in daily life, yet it becomes the one place where gravity's absence truly bites. Suction demands total precision every single time, with zero built-in margin. No gravity assist waits quietly to correct a bad aim. Every new astronaut hears this exact story during basic orbital training. The obvious danger was fiction. Just fiction. The boring danger mattered most.